The emotional divorce. If you're not carefully monitoring and game planning and working in emotional divorce, then things can spiral out of control very quickly. You need to be very careful with an emotional divorce. And when we say an emotional divorce, this is not to suggest that, let's be real, almost every divorce is an emotional divorce, right? They say it's second to the death of a loved one as far as emotions and what you feel when you're dealing with the grieving process and working through the emotions with an emotional divorce. However, there is a percentage of these cases, a small percentage, but a real percentage of these cases where the emotions involved cause one or both of the parties to act irrationally and unreasonably, and frankly make it so that they're unable to come to the table and make good decisions and work things out the right way. And this can have devastating consequences. Situations with kids, it can mean high conflict divorce, it can mean ruined parenting relationships, and it can also mean that negative consequences happen to the kids, and the kids have difficult times with an otherwise difficult process. In financial situations, it can mean that the meter starts ticking and the cost of a divorce spirals much higher than it should be otherwise, and people are wasting money that they shouldn't be wasting on lawyers and on the process, but instead should be keeping for the family. So that's the problem, and what can we do about it? Well, first, the most important thing is to recognize that we're in the midst of one of these highly volatile emotional divorces. We got to recognize that one of the parties is having an issue. When people come into our office, the first thing that we do is we get into the details to figure out how our client is doing emotionally, and also to understand how the other party is doing emotionally. Some possible indicators, things that we're looking for. Was there infidelity in the relationship, or some sort of violation of trust that came out of the blue? If so, who was the party that did it, and how long ago did this happen? In other words, if our client's coming in, or our client's coming in saying, "Listen, Chris, unfortunately I'm going through a divorce and I cheated on my wife, and she found out about it a couple of weeks ago, and she's not going to be able to forgive me." That's an indicator. We got to keep an eye on this. Not because our client did anything wrong. Florida is a no-fault state. Florida doesn't really care what caused you guys to get to be into the divorce process. But we care because we need to know if the wife is going to be going through a set of emotions that might lead her to the point where she's not acting rationally and making it difficult for us to bring this case to a fair and quick conclusion. So first, we have to identify it. Two, we want to consider slowing down the process. In some cases, the best thing we can do is recognize that there's a high level of emotion right now with another spouse, for example, or our spouse, and we want to slow things down, have them focus on the finances, have them focus on gathering documents and other technical aspects of the divorce, and hope that a little bit of time before we get into some of the hot button issues, such as settlement, that a little bit of time will help one or both of the parties go through the grieving process and to come around and become adjusted into the situation that they have. Three, we want to consider speeding up the process. Sometimes slowing it down is not the right way to play the game. Sometimes the best thing we can do is race to the courthouse. We may not actually want to go to trial, but sometimes the best thing we can do is make sure that the process is moving as quick as it can so we don't get stuck in the mud. For example, sometimes we have a situation where whatever has happened to cause the emotional response to make it such an emotional divorce, really it's not anything that us as lawyers we're going to be able to fix. Maybe we represent the husband and the wife has been burned so badly that she's just so angry for whatever reason, and she is just going to burn the ship down. Well, we have to recognize that that's where this woman is at, because any hanging around in the process is just an opportunity for the bull to run around in the china cabinet and break the china. So we need to race. We need to move this case to a conclusion and take actions that will help get this case to a conclusion and help preserve, our client's money, and also make sure we preserve, if not nurture, the relationship between our client and his kids. So 3, sometimes we want to consider speeding things up. 4, we need to consider engaging the help of mental health professionals. So if it's our client that's really suffering in the process, we know that they're going to have a hard time working with us to facilitate, a fair deal and get things resolved, and frankly, they're hurting, then we have a list of mental health professionals that deal specifically with people going through a divorce that can help guide them through the process and hopefully speed up the process of healing. If we know that the other side is struggling and the emotions are high, well, we can't necessarily force them to go to a counselor, except for in very unique situations where kids are involved. But the general rule is we can't do that. But what we can do is we can discuss things like collaborative divorce, or divorce processes that engage a neutral facilitator, which is often, I should say, a mental health professional that's engaged to help both of the parties. And then even if they're engaged to help both of the parties, we know that they're going to help us help the other party get through the process. So number 4, we consider getting the help of mental health professionals. In all cases, the important thing to do, again, is to recognize what's going on and to make sure that we're aggressive at the very beginning, that develops a game plan that will address the problem and either help solve the high level of emotions or make sure that we get through the process, if we can't solve it, in a way that's going to benefit our client the best, preserve as much money as we can, and facilitate and nurture a relationship with the kids.